Hello, my name is Louise Bobrow, president of Memoirs by Louise, a company that specializes in recording and preserving family stories for future generations. The following presentation is an interview with Adele Rubinson in her lovely home in Brighton Beach, Brooklyn, on Monday, September 12, 1994. Her grandchildren Sharon, Joanne, and Alan are present during the interview. Please join us as we journey through Adele's life.
A life filled with love and a life filled with giving. So many years filled with the richness of living. In Zembrova, Brooklyn, Miami, and Brighton Beach, to all of her children, her story will reach. Her story is our story, our family tree. Grandma's the author of our history. Our dear Grandma, beautiful and strong, thank you for giving us so much all along.
I miss my daddy, I miss our life, our family together at the Pesach table. Food and fun in that order. Those days are gone, thank God we still have Mommy. Daddy is also known to some as Grandpa or Irving, and Mommy is also known as Grandma or Adele.
Dear Mommy and Daddy, thank you for your boundless love, patience, and especially for the vegetable soup and those yummy colored cookies from Strauss's Bakery. This tape is a gift to my family and all future generations. Just remember, you come from a very special family.
Hello, Adele. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
I'd like to start out by asking your complete name
Adele Rubinson.
and your maiden name.
Shall I say Waxman? In Europe it was Wierzbowicz, but in this country my father called himself Waxman.
When and where were you born?
In a small town in Poland, Zembrova.
It was about how far from Warsaw was Zembrov?
You had to take a train. If you went by wagon, it took you a couple of days. By train, you had to go first with a wagon to the station, and then you went by train.
And how long was the train
The
ride?
train ride was about 3 hours or 2.
Now, who were you named after?
My great-grandma,
Who and her name would be?
Chaya Sarah,
And that was your father's
grandmother.
grandmother, Chaya Sarah. Okay. Is your family name, you mentioned before, it is different than the original name. Explain again how the name came to be Waxman.
Wierzbowicz is a Polish name, and it's hard to spell. When my father came to this country and my brother, and we had uncles here, and they called themselves Waxman, so they took that name, Waxman. It sounds more American.
Who were the first family members that settled in this country, that came here?
An uncle of mine, my father's brother.
Your father's brother. How about your brother? Did he?
My brother came later. He came from Germany and from Israel, and then he came to the United States.
So your father's brother was the first family member. What was his name?
His name was Sam
Sam.
Waxman.
And did he arrive through Ellis Island, as
Yes.
far as you know?
Yes,
Do you know? Would you know about when he
when he came.
came?
He must have come here maybe in 1900.
1900. Where did Sam come from?
Lomže,
Is that a town near Zembrov?
not too far. It was a powiat.
And when he settled here, where did he settle?
My uncle?
Your uncle.
My uncle said it. He said he had a restaurant on Canal Street. Canal or Rollin Street?
So it was on the Lower East Side of
On the
New York.
Lower East Side. Yeah.
Now, he came first, and then your oldest brother, Joe?
My older brother Joe came much later, much from Israel,
Okay, and where did Joe settle?
on the east side.
Also on the east side, okay. I'd like to now go on to asking you about your grandparents.
Yes.
Could you give me the names of your grandparents on your mother's side?
Yeah, that's the only grandparents I knew. My grandmother was the name Hilda, and my grandfather's name was Avram Yankel.
Okay. And I'd like you to talk about Hilda. Could you describe her? First of all, where was she born? What town was she born in?
I think she was born in Lomja.
Losh. Okay. Would you have any idea of any dates, possibly? I know this is
No.
going back far, but
No.
no. Okay. Could you talk about Hilda?
She was a very good person, very devoted to grandmother. And I always wanted to be like her, and I'll be a grandma.
And I know you told me a story about her when you were a little girl
Yes.
in the town. Can you
Yes.
repeat that incident?
Yes. It was the town or the shul gave a Sefer Torah. And my father took me along. It was a celebration in town. My father took me along, and then they invited him to carry the Sefer, and that's a big honor. So he left me and he went to pick up the Sefer, and he marched with the crowd. When he returned, he didn't know where I am. And they were looking for me. They thought I'm lost or kidnapped. But my grandmother saw me, and she took me up in the women's section in that shul where they brought the Sefer Torah, and she kept me there till she heard yelling my name, and then they found me.
So you weren't lost after
No.
all. Oh. Do you remember at all what grandmother looked like?
She was only 66 when she died, but she looks like these days like 100.
Why is that?
She lost her teeth, and she had asthma, and she suffered. And one of my sisters, Paula, she always took care of her. I was much younger. But she died in our house.
Really?
Yes.
You remember that?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. How about her husband?
Yes.
What was his name?
Avram Yankev.
Okay. And can you...
He lived with us after my grandma died for 18 years, till he passed away.
And how old was he when he passed away?
In the late 70s.
And what can you say about him? How would you describe?
Not too much would I remember him. Yeah, he was always moody and lonely, but he lived with us.
Okay. Now, is he the man that came to America?
Yeah,
Could you tell that story?
yeah. He came to America many years ago. He was a young man yet.
About when was that?
Must have been the 1800s, 1820 or 1825. And he says, no, it's not for me. Even the stones are not kosher. And he went back home.
So he was a very religious man.
He was a very religious man.
And he found America.
American, yeah, not kosher enough.
Is there anything else you'd like to say about this set of grandparents?
Originally, my grandfather had this factory, the oil factory. But then my father took it over when he got in. And we had the factory for many years, till things turned out bad. The government was on top of everybody, especially on top of the Jews. So, but my father had the factory after my...
But it was your grandfather's
Originally,
factory.
but my father took it over and he ran it.
This set of grandparents would be buried
In Zembov.
in Zembro.
Yes.
Now the other side, the other set of grandparents,
Yeah.
could you give me their names?
Their name was also... my grandmother's name was Hannah, and her husband's name was... Yitzchak.
Right. And I understand you didn't really know them.
No, very little.
Is there anything that
No.
you...
My grandmother died when my father was single yet.
Is there anything that you care to say about them?
I didn't know them.
You didn't know them. Were there any stories that were passed down about them?
No, I didn't know them.
And where would they be buried?
In Kolne.
In Kolna. Okay. And Kolna is how far from Zembrov? Is it?
It's also between Lomji. Lomji is in the center, and then the one side is December, and the other side is Köln. It's just halfway.
I'd like you to give me the names of your parents and when and where they were born.
My father was born in 1877.
And his name?
Was Hona
Okay. And
My
where
mother.
was he born?
in Köln.
In Köln. Okay. And your mother's name?
Shana
And she was born
Zembova.
in the same year, about?
No, she was younger.
Younger.
Yeah.
Did they ever give you exact birth dates, or was it according to a holiday? Do you remember if did they say, their birthday was?
I tell you, there was a lot of children in every family, and if they went to the magistrate to sign up, they always took a few children. 3, 4 was born. So it was a little bit mixed up. I find out when I went for my passport that I was on my brother's birthday. Yeah.
Really?
Yes.
That's interesting.
Yeah, because a boy, they always wanted to make young and not to go to the army.
Oh.
So I was a year and a half older. He was a year and a half older, but they put me on his date.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
That's interesting. All right, I'd like to talk now about your mother. I'd like you to describe her. First of all, what did she look like?
They say I look like her. I'm just a copy of my mother. That's what people tell me.
Was she tall, short, medium build?
Average.
Light hair, dark
Yeah.
hair?
She was always tired, having children one after another, and helping in the business. Things weren't so easy. Life was hard in Europe, very hard.
Yeah. Tell me more about her. What did you used to do with her? What do you remember? What kind of a mother was she?
She didn't have much time for the children. But she was a very devoted mother, very devoted in her way. Always made sure we had the right clothes and the right shoes. She started in December working on Passover. Everybody should have something new.
And I understand she also worked with your father.
Oh yeah, she was in business.
Now, was this unusual for a woman of her
Every
day?
woman helped in the business.
What did she do
It
in
was
the
a
business?
family. Oh, it was buying and selling, buying the raw material for making the oil and selling it.
And so she was very busy with the children.
Children, unfortunate, 5 small children died. And then we were left 6. So right now I'm the only one.
Okay. You sort of mentioned what she looked like. Did she have light eyes, dark eyes? She have your
No,
color eyes?
She was blonde, yeah, blue eyes.
She was blonde and
Yes,
blue-eyed.
yeah.
And was she tall?
No,
Medium.
medium age.
Any other stories you remember about your mother?
Not much, not much. It fades away all these years.
What happened to your mother? How did she die?
She died. We never know the real truth. They were sent to Auschwitz, and she was perished there.
And how did you learn this?
From people. They told us they were all sent to. So it's my 2 sisters, my 3 sisters.
Was this from Zembrov?
Yeah.
Okay. I'd like now to talk about your father.
Yeah.
Describe him. What was he like? What did he look like, first of all?
Like a Yid with a beard. And very good nature, very good nature. They
Was he
were-
strict?
Oh, with the children, yeah. But they didn't have much time. If he had time, he went to shul to learn.
And I know you mentioned to me that fathers were very different in Europe than they are now. How? How so?
More strict. They forced the religious on the children a lot.
I know you mentioned you had to go to school,
I had to go to school and to Cheder.
and then after the Heder, you had to go to Polish
Public
school
school, yes.
because it was the law.
Was the law.
Okay. What did your father spent a lot of time in shul?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, okay. And you mentioned on Shabbos, he always brought people
Yes,
home.
Friday night and Saturday. They called it Orchem. So if they came to our town, they didn't have where to eat. It was Achnosas Orchem, they called it. So they had where to sleep, but they didn't have where to eat. So he always brought whatever was left. He never says, I can't leave him. Sometimes he brought 2, sometimes 3, sometimes 5. It all depends.
So there were always extra people in the house.
Extra people.
Now, your father came to America.
Yes.
When did he come to America?
He came in, it was really in December 38. And it was the end of December, about the 29th. It's like 39.
Why did he came without his family?
Yes, because at that time I was in this country a short while. So my older brother, took him over. But my mother didn't want to leave my youngest sister. The other 2 were married, but she was still single. She was a girl of 13 years old. So she didn't want to leave her. So she figured later my father was going to bring her over. It wouldn't be a quota. To a child to a father, it was no quota. But to a brother, she was already in a quota. So they figured out good. But they didn't turn out good. The war broke out in 39. And they were all put in a ghetto.
What happened to your father's business when he came to
America?
America?
They liquidated. It was no good anymore.
It was no good. And what did he do when he first got here?
When he first got here, he worked by Schmulke Bornstein in the delicatessen, doing something there. They gave him a job right away because Mr. Bornstein, when he was a yeshiva boy, he used to eat by us. So he repaid him here and gave him the job.
Now, your father worked in the deli. Did he, what happened when he learned about his family perishing?
Yes, he was very upset, and he was very sick, and he went through surgery, and then at the end got a stroke.
And did he ever remarry?
Yes. He stayed with my brother most of the time, but then he remarried with my brother's mother-in-law.
This was another brother.
Another brother.
And it was his mother-in-law. Your other brother's name was
Sam,
and it was his mother-in-law.
mother-in-law.
And were they married for a while?
No, not too long. He took ill, and he was very upset. He wasn't himself since he found out that his family is gone. He was very angry if we had a party or we played television or we played music. He was angry at us that we don't care. He wanted us, everybody should mourn all our lives.
Would you care to mention his second wife's name? Do you remember it?
I think it was Adele. Yeah.
So he died in 1953.
Three.
And what did he die from?
Heart failure, and he had a stroke. He was in the nursing home, the incurable, for a year and a half.
In New York City?
Yeah, in Brooklyn.
And where is he buried?
On the cemetery here in Washington Cemetery.
Washington Cemetery in Brooklyn.
In Brooklyn. It's in Long Island.
Washington Cemetery?
Not this Washington. Beth David, I'm sorry.
Beth David Cemetery
Beth David
in
Cemetery.
Elmont.
Elmont.
Okay. What values do you feel your parents passed on to you?
Certain traditions, most of it. Even we're not as we should be, like my father would want us to be, but we still have the traditions and reading in the Hebrew. We still have that. I still have that.
Was everybody in your family religious
Not the young people.
when you were growing up?
Growing up.
Did they rebel against your
They
parents?
rebelled, yes. They weren't, what I mean, they weren't so religious like my father, but we obeyed. A Shabbos was Shabbos, and they had a curfew when to be home. It was strict.
But there was a big difference in...
No, we weren't like our parents was, no.
Did that upset your parents that
Maybe,
the children
but-
weren't following?
Maybe. But while we were home, we obeyed. We were just as good as he would want us to be.
You mentioned also that one of the values that your parents passed down to you was devotion.
Yes.
How did they show this?
They were very, very devoted. They wanted the best for the children. As grown-up young people, we should be dressed well. They didn't care for them, but just for us to have for Passover something new. And my mother, the first thing she gave is her husband and the children. She was always the last. She served. It was devotion, a lot.
And that's what made you devoted?
Maybe, maybe. When I was in this country, and I didn't have, and my children used to say, my friends are not here, they go to their grandparents, and they didn't have grandparents here. So I made up my mind to be the best grandmother that I could be.
Oh, that's wonderful. What traits do you feel you inherited from your parents? What do you think you inherited from your mother?
I don't know. Maybe certain cookings, that it's still in me.
What about her personality? Did you feel you were like her? I know you said you look like her, right?
Yeah, that's
How about
what
her
people say.
personality?
Yeah, maybe. It's hard to tell.
And your father?
He was a good man.
Did you
Yeah.
inherit any traits from him, would you say?
I don't know, really. Yeah.
I'd like now to go on and talk about your aunts and uncles. If you can remember them, let's talk about on your mother's side first. Do you have some aunts and uncles that you can recall? Perhaps give their names, a little description.
My mother had a sister in Warsaw.
In Warsaw?
Yes.
And her name?
Her name was Sarah Freda.
Mm-hmm.
She was married to a doctor. He was a doctor for deaf people. And they had in the house like a school. And they were living there. And they weren't as devoted as my mother was. They were they were a big town, and we were from a smaller town, so we were the province. And they didn't associate too much with us.
So you didn't see them too often?
We went to Warsaw. Every time we went to Warsaw, I stayed there. And one of her sons and a daughter survived from the Holocaust. Yeah.
Were they in a concentration camp?
They were on the Irish side. And they still in, where Mindy was there. Where was Mindy? In
Australia?
Australia. They still live in Australia.
They still live in Australia?
Yeah, that's the only family that survived. My mother had a brother, he was in this country.
And his name would be?
His name was Nachem David. And he died in a young age.
He was in America?
Yeah.
So he came...
He died, I mean, he was a married man, but he died, he was in his early 50s.
When did he come to America?
He came much earlier than me. He came to America probably in 1925.
And where was he? Did he
on the
live in
east side.
Zembrov?
No, yeah, he was also a Zembrov, yeah. They lived on the east side,
Of Manhattan.
Manhattan. And this,
Were you close with him?
maybe in a year I was here, he passed
He
away.
passed away. And did he leave a family?
Yeah,
And did you keep up with his
we
family?
used to keep it up. Yeah, they have two sons and now one daughter too. One daughter died.
Anything else you can remember? Any stories when you visited them in Warsaw or when they came to you? Or
They never came to us. we came to Warsaw, and they were very, how do you explain that? Independent and very, they felt they are aristocratic.
Were they religious?
In a way, not as much as my
Not as much
family,
as
no.
your
In Warsaw it's different, especially with his profession.
Now I'd like to ask you about aunts and uncles on your father's side. Can you describe any, name any, tell us anything about them?
I used to go for vacation to that town, and I stayed with them.
What town?
Kolne,
Kolna, okay.
yeah. My father had 2 sisters there and a brother.
Okay, could you talk
There were 3
about
families. They were very devoted, very nice. They had, I spent a few summers there.
Tell me about the sisters. What were their names?
One name was Zlata, the other one was Libby, and his brother's name was Velvel.
And what can you tell me about them?
They were very good-natured people. I enjoyed them. One sister, she was in Israel. She died in Israel. And she lost a son in the war, when it was the Six-Day War. So she lost a son. And after
Which sister was this now?
my father's, Libby.
Libby. And was she,
She was a widow. So she,
in a concentration camp
no, she left for Israel before the war.
before the war?
Yes.
Okay, and how about the other sister?
Perished in the war.
And her name again was?
Zlata.
And she perished in Auschwitz,
yeah.
most probably.
Oh, probably.
And she had a family?
Yes.
And her family also
Yeah,
perished?
one son was in Israel, but he died already.
He
Yeah.
died. But
Yeah.
he did not, he was
No.
not in a concentration
No,
camp.
the rest of the family was. There were 4 children.
And the brother,
The brother, they all died in concentration, whatever, yeah.
he was married and he had his
Yeah,
whole
he
family.
had a family.
Would you know the names of any of the children that perished? No.
Had a boy.
Are there any other stories about your father's aunts and uncles that you remember, other than going to visit them?
Yeah, not too much what I remember. Just the summers I used to spend, and I was a young kid. I was busy with my life.
Did they
They
live
had
in the
my good
country?
time.
Is that
Mm,
why
they-
you went to visit them? They lived in the country?
No, they lived in town, but it was a small, maybe smaller than Zimbabwe yet. Yes.
What was the name of the town? again?
Kolne.
Kolne. Okay. Now I'd like to ask you, out of all your relatives, did you have one favorite relative that you were especially close to?
I had an uncle in Zimbabwe, my father's brother.
The one that you just mentioned?
No, a different one.
There was
His name
another brother?
Yes,
Oh, okay. What was his name?
Victor.
Okay.
Victor, yeah.
Victor.
And we used to be much closer because they lived in the same town. And one daughter came to this country. Someone took her mother's family took her over. She lived in Chicago, and she recently died.
So who were you close to? Uncle Victor?
Yes, yeah.
Why were you especially close
Because
to
they
him?
lived in that town. You know, in Polish they say, "Dalej oczy, dalej serce." If you're afraid of your eyes, so it's afraid of your heart. If you don't see them.
And what happened to Victor?
In Poland, same what happened to everybody.
He perished in Auschwitz.
Yeah, with his family.
I'd like to go on to your brothers and sisters. And now I'd like you to tell me about them, starting with the oldest one.
Yeah.
Who
What
was
is-
the first?
First one was my brother Yassel, Joe. He was in the army during the wartime, and then he escaped as a soldier, and he was in Germany. And after Germany, we tried, and he went to Israel as a halutz, and he lived in Israel for a while. Then he came to this country, and he couldn't get in. It was Ellis Island, and they stopped them. They couldn't come in. So he went back to Israel. He married his wife. his girlfriend. And then he was here in this country with his family.
So Joe went back and forth to Israel. Why did he leave Israel?
It was in 1936. It was a lot of trouble with the Arabs. And it was a very hard. And he came back. We wrote, I came to this country and I wanted him to come back. We encouraged him. He came back, and then his wife came with 3 children.
And you were very close to him.
Yes.
Yes. What made you especially close?
He was the only one here. And to him, I was the youngest. He never knew my younger sister. And I was to him the youngest. And that was my family.
And then he went back to Israel eventually, correct? Or did he stay in America?
Oh, he stayed.
He stayed in America, okay. And how many years older was he than you?
Oh, he was about at least 12 years older.
Quite a bit older.
Probably.
And when did he die?
Oh, he died in 1964.
Of what?
Heart failure
And where is he buried?
in Israel.
In Israel. Okay. And he had a family, his family is in Israel?
One daughter.
And she's still alive?
Yeah.
After Joe, who was the next sibling?
Another, my sister.
Your sister came next?
Yeah,
And her
Hannah.
name was?
Hannah.
Hannah. Okay, and tell me about Hannah.
She was married. She lived in a town named Grujons, and they had a business. And she lived with in a furnished apartment with a German woman, and she was very fond of her. They got along beautifully. The children too. But since Hitler came to the Macht, so she told her to move. She said she fears for her life, and the Führer is the government, and she was without a home. But I was already in this country, and the war broke out shortly, and she was transferred to a concentration camp.
So she was like a fugitive?
Yes,
She ran from town to town?
from town to town, wherever they shipped them.
And what happened to her children and her husband?
We
They
don't
perished
know.
also.
Perished.
Her husband's name was
Max,
Max. And the children's names, would you know?
Salek, and Schlemmerle, and Sam, I think.
And what was her married name, Hannah's married name?
Tykochinski.
Anything else that you remember about Hannah, that you used to do anything together as children?
No, she was a grown-up and I was a kid.
You were. Okay. After Hannah came, what sister?
Pauline,
Paula.
yeah.
Okay, and tell me about Paula.
She always wanted to immigrate to either to this country or to Israel. And she learned to be, it's not a dressmaker, she learned to sew linen. And she went to my older sister there to Grujons, and she learned that, a special school. And she came back, and I was with that little boy,
What
David.
little boy?
David,
Her little boy?
her little boy. She left him. She was there 6 months. She left him to my parents, naturally, but I took care of him most of it. And she came back, and she made a living out of it, what she learned. It was a big deal in Europe, nice linen. So, we don't know where she vanished in the war.
Yeah. And she was, what was her husband's name?
Shimon
Shimon. And his last name?
Rosenbaum,
And they had the son David.
David.
And I know you were especially close to David.
Yes.
Tell us about David.
He was a very bright child, very bright and very cute, and we loved him.
And he was deported also with his
Sure.
family? Okay. And after Paula, who was the next child? Was that,
The next child was this brother,
what was his name?
Sam.
Sam. Tell me about Sam.
He ran away from home. He wasn't legal. He went away to Cuba. He lived there for a while. Then he got married. He came here to this country. He was a worker. And he had 2 children, but we weren't too close.
He left for Cuba during the war or before the war?
Before the war.
Before the war.
Yeah.
And you did not remain close with him?
No.
And what happened to him? He died in this
He
country?
died in this country.
At what
and
age?
his wife.
What age did he pass
He
away?
died, both brothers died in a young age.
At a young
My both brothers.
And would you know where he's buried?
He's buried in California.
In California. Okay. And the next child
It was me,
was yourself, which we will talk about in a minute.
Yeah.
And then the youngest one was?
Hilda.
And tell me about Hilda.
She was born, my mother's in the late age. My mother was in her 50s. Yes, in the early 50s when she was born. And I don't know much because I left. She was 12 years old. And but my husband's nephew was telling me that he knows that she had the typhus during the war, and she was taken to the crematorium.
And this was the daughter that your mother stayed in
That's right.
Zembrov.
That's my mother's sacrifice, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Is there anything else that you would like to say now about your brothers and sisters before?
I wish I would have them. I would have a family.
Yeah.
I am the only one. My only family is my children and my grandchildren,
Yeah.
which I'm very proud of them.
So you lost a great deal of family in the Holocaust.
Sure.
Can you give me some of your thoughts about the Holocaust, how it impacted upon your life?
It was a very bad time here too. We were in war, and we were always worried. We didn't hear from them. We didn't know what it is. And my father was here, and he was always upset. And he was angry at us that we don't care too much. We're not mourning enough.
How did you feel as the survivor?
As a survivor, I always felt very thankful to my husband. Yes. I would be one of them.
Yeah. Are you bitter?
No. Why should I be bitter? Because you mean because I'm bitter on the Germans. Very much.
Tell me about your life when you were growing up.
Yeah,
Let's talk a little bit about where you grew up in Zembrov.
yeah.
Tell me what your home looked like.
Home, we had our own house. We weren't tenants. And we were always 2, 3 children in one room, or 2 in a bed. And I went to Haida when I was about 4 years or 5. I went to Haida. And then I went, when I was 8 years old, I had to start public school. That was a must from the government to learn Polish. If you live in Poland, you have to learn Polish. I went to school. I was a very successful person in my young age. I had a boyfriend. I belonged to. I was telling you about we had, in Polish it's very easy to know, a drama circle. And I belonged to that circle. We played, we put up plate, the money went for Israel.
What did you do in the plays?
Plays, whatever our role what was given to me.
Did you sing or did
I
you
was
act?
sing, I was acting, yes. Yes.
How old were you about that?
I was about 17, 18. Yeah.
Do you have any vivid memories at all of the town? For example, did it have many synagogues?
Oh yeah, there was a lot of synagogues. It was synagogues. It was a nice town. We didn't know any better. This was good. That's all. We didn't know any better. We just how somewhere else is.
So you enjoyed theater.
Yes, very much.
How long did you participate in the theater?
Oh, till I left. Yeah.
Can you describe how the holidays were celebrated at your home? For example, Shabbos. Did it differ today? Did it differ from today?
Different than I live, but there is homes now these days that it's just the same as it was in Europe.
Really?
Yes.
What do you remember about Shabbos at home?
Shabbos, my mother went to shul, my father went to shul. A goiter came to make a fire to warm up the food. And in the winter, she came to, the house should be warm. And he had a festivity. We went for a walk. Everybody knew everybody. Everybody admired what you wear. And, it's a good feeling.
And you went to shul together on Saturday morning?
No.
No.
Unmarried children didn't go to shul.
And how about Passover? What do you remember?
Yeah, we started Passover 4 weeks in advance. And everybody did their share, and everybody cleaned, and everybody did. And everybody was hoping for Passover. Everybody got new shoes and a new dress and something new for Yom Tov. And that was, there is still these days homes, not too far. I have a granddaughter who's sitting right here. And it's the same feeling.
The same feeling.
Yes.
And you mentioned that your father used to bring people to
Yes, yes. And he was about filler, like a chazan. He davened for the Omed.
So did he bring strangers or people that
most of the time, yes.
To Passover too?
Passover, we had soldiers.
Soldiers.
Every beggar went home for Passover. But we had the army in our town. So we used to bring soldiers. We had it was in the town a kitchen where we used to go with the girls to help. And he used to bring soldiers.
Do you remember any special foods at all that you ate?
Like here.
Same.
She used to bake cakes for Passover. And my father, about a week before, 2 weeks, we baked our own matzah.
I was just going to ask you about that.
Yes.
You baked your own.
Matzah. In a bakery, but it was his job. We all had to help, because there was all the facilities.
Can you describe yourself? How would you describe yourself when you were younger? What was your personality like? Were you shy, rebellious?
No, I was just, I felt for my parents very much. I felt I used to hear them talking things, the business is going down, and what it's going to be, and they were worried about the girls, and they were worried, and I used to feel always for them.
So you were obedient and...
I was a very devoted kid.
And devoted.
Yeah, that's what I think.
Did you notice any anti-Semitism in Poland personally?
Sure.
In what way?
What way? They used to cut the beards from the men when they went back from shul. They used to throw rocks, and they used to bother the girls. It was bad.
Did anything happen to you personally?
No.
I think you mentioned...
We never went out too much in the evenings. That's all.
Didn't you take private lessons?
I took private lessons because I wanted to go to high school. And in high school you had to go attend Saturday, which my parents wouldn't allow. So I took private lessons by a Gentile with another girl.
And what happened? Did you have to stop the lessons?
Yeah, we stopped. It was, I don't remember exactly what it was. Either it was too expensive or he started to bother us a little bit. Yeah.
Did you have any favorite subjects in school that you liked studying?
I wanted to quit school.
None of them were your favorite?
No.
There must have been something that you liked. Was there one subject that you liked more than the other?
Singing.
You liked singing. And acting you would have liked?
Yeah.
And you didn't really have any jobs when you were younger,
No.
did you? What were you busy doing when you came home from school?
we had so much school. We had the 2 sessions school, Hebrew and Polish.
Yeah.
After public school, we had to go to Hebrew school.
So when you came home,
There were hardly any, there was a lot of homework. And it was sometimes for a few minutes to play outside with friends. That's all.
did you have to take care of the other children, your younger
Not so
sister?
much.
No. Okay. What were your favorite hobbies? What did you like to do when you were younger?
I used to embroider, yes.
Do you still do that today?
No, but I used to do embroidery. Everybody, the girls, was a style.
Do you have any special friends that you would like to name?
I have 2 friends in Israel, but they are alive. In Poland, I have no friends.
Were these friends that were from Poland?
Yeah, but they left before me or after me, but before the war.
And would you like to say their names and tell us a little bit about them?
One, she was a very beautiful girl,
What
a
was her
very
name?
pretty girl, Zissel. Her second name was Karlinski. And she married a guy who was much older than her, a very Orthodox, and he took her to Israel. And I was by her, I slept in her house. She has a very Orthodox home. Her children are also very nice. Now she's a widow, and a very nice girl.
And how about you had another friend?
Another friend, she's also in Israel. I still, once in a while, I get a letter from
And
her.
her name is?
Her name is also Zissel. They are cousins, Blumrosen.
And you were friendly with them as children in
Yes.
in Zembrow?
Mm-hmm. We went to the same school.
Is there anything you'd like to say about them when you were younger?
Yeah, this Zissel Blumrosen, I'm going to see her now because I got a letter from her. We didn't like her because she was brilliant.
Were you jealous?
Everyone. She was so smart that it was impossible. She was a genius.
Really?
She still is. She works for the government.
Really?
Yeah. You'll see her. And the other one was very, very pretty, from a very good home, very good home.
And they were not...
I had to make friends from homes that my parents approved. Otherwise, they couldn't come in and I couldn't go there. In Europe was a yiches. You know what yiches means?
What
From a
would you
good
say
home
was
for
your
them.
happiest moment growing up?
My happiest moment growing up? I don't think I had happiest moments. No.
No one in particular?
Not one of us.
Really?
No.
It was a sad time.
Yes.
And so the saddest moment...
The saddest moment was for me. I had a boyfriend and he left to Israel. And he left, he wasn't, not legally. And he couldn't take me over. He left, a girl took him over as she's his wife. They made false documents. So he couldn't bring someone else over. And I was so used to have him that I didn't have any friends. My other girlfriend, she also had a boyfriend. So I was very lonely, terribly lonely when he left.
What was his name?
Label,
Label.
Golombek.
And you lost contact with him
I lost contact when I married my husband. I didn't lose contact till I married.
till you married. Okay. Did you have one person in your life you feel that was most influential?
Influential? My brother-in-law.
And his name?
His name was Shimon.
Shimon.
Yeah.
Why was he the most...
He was very bright.
How did he influence you?
He knew my husband very well, and he influenced me, yes. And I looked up to him.
You looked up to him. Okay. Now I'd like you to tell me about your husband, Irving. How did you meet?
He came to our town, and every girl wanted to go to America, the truth. He had a choice of many girls, but he picked me.
Why?
He was friendly with my brother-in-law, and he used to come into our house. And Then we went away to my brother's brother in a different town to get to know each other. Because in a small town, the whole town knows before you know. So we went away there for quite a while. We got to know each other. We were talking. And you didn't know this?
I thought 7 days he needed.
Yeah, it was for a while, maybe a week or something.
So-
And then we decided, everything was made up, that we're going to get married. And we got married.
What span
My
of
parents-
time was this when you first met him till you decided you were going to get married?
To get married was, to get to meet him was decided to get married.
And,
Yes.
and when did you actually get married?
In about 2 weeks.
2 weeks. Now,
He did everything. My parents didn't have to do nothing.
really?
Yes, my parents were poor at that time. They couldn't afford much. So he did the wedding, not in our town, in Bialystok.
Is that where he was from? Where was
No,
he?
he was also from our town.
He was from Zembro. Okay.
And we got married in Bialystok.
Why was the wedding in Bialystok rather than
We didn't want in our town.
for any particular reason?
Yeah, they were friends of my boyfriend. It wasn't pleasant.
I see.
So we were married in Bialystok,
What year would this? What was the date of
30.
your wedding?
August 18, 1935.
And describe the wedding.
Wedding, a small wedding, just family. Just family.
Did you have a? What did you wear?
What you see on what you see on the picture, that dress, a blue dress.
A blue dress.
Yeah, chiffon. And we were married, and we went for a honeymoon to Druskinik. It's a resort. We stayed there about 2 weeks. Then we went to my sister to Grudgens for a couple of days to say goodbye. And he went away. He left
For America?
for America back because he had only a for vacation. And then we correspond all the time. And then he sent for me, and 6 months later I came here. I came here April
April of
1936.
1936. Okay.
The whole town was at the car when I left for Warsaw. You had to go to Warsaw, from there to go to get the boat.
So everybody
Everybody was outside 6 in the morning.
to say goodbye.
Yeah.
To say goodbye. And that must
They
have
were
been
envying me.
very sad. for
Some
you,
was
though.
mad at me, and some people envied me.
Yeah.
Yes.
How did it feel leaving your mother? And
Yes.
that must have been very
Yes.
difficult.
But my father went with me. My mother was too sick to see me off. So my father was the stronger one, and I stayed by my aunt in Warsaw a couple days. And here I am.
All right. At this point, I would like to talk about your husband, Irving. You know his date of birth?
Did he have a birthday? Yeah, I think 1901.
He didn't know his birthday.
Do you know what year? I'm sorry, 1901, what
01.
month?
July.
July of 1901. And he was born in what town?
Jędrzejów, a small town near Zembrowa. Very
Near
close,
there.
yeah.
Tell me about his family.
He lost his father when he was 12 years old.
What happened to his father?
It was the first World War. He was the rabbi from that small town, and there were a lot of sick people. They needed hospital, and this town didn't have a hospital. So they went, about 10 people, they went to ask permission to take these people out from that town. So they took them for spies. They didn't ask any questions, and they were all 10 executed.
And his father's name? Do you know his name?
Menachem Mendel.
And so he was executed. And his mother's name?
Sarah.
And what can you tell me about Sarah?
She was left in the street. I mean, the house was burned. They didn't have anything. They came to our town, and it was before a wedding. His sister, his oldest sister, was supposed to get married, and he had the jewelry on him, on his clothes. But there is when someone dies, he was killed, according to Jewish law, they're not supposed to take off his clothes. He has to be buried in the clothes. You know that? So he was buried in his clothes, what he was wearing. And they didn't have any money, they didn't have anything. So his mother once got up and she said, she knows that, and she had a dream, and he was telling her to go and open the grave and take all the money and the jewelry. And they did. They went, he was a kid, he used to talk about it, he used to remember that very well.
Really?
Yeah, his mother fainted, and he was with her. And they did take out the money and the jewelry, and they cashed it in, whatever they had, what they did.
Really?
Yeah.
Gee. And what happened to Sarah?
She was in the concentration camp with my mother too at the same time, the same camp.
In Auschwitz.
In Auschwitz.
Did Irving have brothers or sisters
Yes.
that you could talk about?
Yeah, I could only talk about it, what he was telling me, yeah.
That's okay.
One sister he had who had a little girl.
What was her name?
Gita,
Gita. And she had a little daughter.
a little daughter. It took her a long time till she had a child. And she wanted to save her, so she put her a chain with a cross and told her that she's not Jewish, she's Christian. And she lost her parents, whatever, and she gave her to a Christian woman. She was afraid to keep her. She took away naturally the money from her, and she put her in a church. So she was living in the church as one of the children. And once they tried her, they wanted to make sure if she's not Jewish, so they put in a dog in her room. And usually Jewish children are afraid for dogs, but she wasn't. She knew she has to be saved. And she said that she petted the dog. And but she was saved in a church, and now she's in Israel, and she's a grandmother already.
And her name?
Her name is Hannah.
Hannah. That's quite an experience.
Yeah.
And her parent, what happened to Gita?
Oh, she
They
was
perished in the Holocaust. Okay. Are there any other siblings that Irving had that you would like to talk about?
He had more sisters, you know, they are same thing.
They perished.
They all perished.
Is there anybody in particular?
Anybody here is in this country is one of his sister's son. He survived.
And his name is?
His name is Mendel.
And it was his Irving's sister's son.
Son.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Okay.
And his sister in France,
She said that she died too.
but she survived.
Yeah, sister survived because she was before the war.
Who?
In
Which?
France.
What sister survived? I'm sorry.
Yeah, one sister, Hannah. Yeah.
Irving's sister.
Yeah, she survived because she went away to France before even I went away.
So there was another sister who
Yeah,
survived.
but she's not alive anymore.
Okay. Is there any other? I'm sorry. Are there any other people in Irving's family
Nothing
that you would
too
like
special.
to
No.
mention?
No.
Okay. You came to America in what year?
36.
1936. And where was your first home?
But my aunt, I had an aunt here in this country, my father's sister. So we stayed by her. We had a furnished room.
Where was that?
I think it was on Ralph Avenue
Which is in Brooklyn?
in Brooklyn.
And how long did you stay there? And
We stayed there till my brother came back from Israel. And then we took an apartment together
where was that?
on the east side, on Broome Street.
And how long were you there for?
Well, maybe about 3 years.
3 years. And then where did you go?
To Williamsburg,
And where did you live in Williamsburg?
on Rodney Street.
And how long were you in Williamsburg?
About 12 years.
And from there
Yeah, in 1951 we came to Borough Park.
to Borough Park. Now, during this time, what did Irving do for a living?
Painting, most. He didn't like it, he hated it, but he made a living out of it.
Can you describe your initial years of marriage? What were they like? Was it hard when you first
It was
came
good
here?
and bad.
What was good?
was good. We had children. We loved them. And it was hard making a living, and it was the war that we both lost our families.
How did you deal
It
with
was
that?
very, very much bad. And that's it. It was good and bad. Good times and
Initially-
bad times. I still had my young friends. We were young. That was good. We had the desire to go and to make parties between ourselves, and we used to play, get together. We had friends from same town, so it was very pleasant.
Initially, when you were here, you were able to keep in contact with your family.
Oh, yes.
And then after the war broke out, did you lose all contact?
We never heard of anybody.
So would you say that your first years were happy here? Were you were so happy to come to America?
I was sad, not happy yet. Yeah. Yeah, I didn't know the language, and it was hard for me. I felt very bad. But then, little by little, when you start to have children, you go down with a carriage in the street, you talk to people, even whatever, you make the best.
Now we're going to begin talking about your children. I'd like you to tell me about your firstborn, who was Hannah.
Yes.
Tell me about Hannah.
Like any ordinary child.
When was
nothing
she
is big.
born?
She was born February 18, 1937.
And tell me about her.
When she was born, I didn't even know the language yet. I spoke to her Yiddish. And in most of the time we spent outside in the street. I met some other woman. I was called, nobody called me by my name. They always called me Hannah's mother. Hannah, they all played with her. She was our first child. It was a lot of joy. But when she was 2 years old, she had pneumonia. We almost lost her. Well, we had a doctor who was a friend and a very good human being. And he took care of her. He grabbed her in his car and put her in the hospital. Otherwise, I think we would have lost her.
Right. What would you like to say to Hannah?
To Hannah, what can I say? I wish her children, when she'll have grandchildren, they should be to her as good as my grandchildren are to me.
That's nice. Okay. And now tell me about your second child.
Mindy was born. I had a very hard time. It was during the war in 1940. And I took sick. I had kidney trouble. And I was sick for a long time. It was a very bitter time. We had to have a nurse in the house to take care of me. And it was a bitter time, but thank God I survived, and she survived. She was a very happy child. And that's it. Then when they grew up, they were fighting.
What would you like to say to Mindy?
Mindy? Also, what can I say? She's okay. She has her problems, but she's okay. She's a good daughter, and so is Anne. No complaint. But my grandchildren are better.
And now let's talk about your third daughter,
Which one?
Sheila.
Sheila. Sheila we had certain problems.
When was she born?
She was born in July 18,
1947.
37. 47. 10 years later.
Okay. And tell me about Sheila.
Sheila is a child. She was a good kid. But it was hard on me because I had grown-up children already. I was able to go with them. And here another baby came. So I had a very hard time. Mm-hmm. Very, very hard to raise her. And it was hard all the time.
And I know you mentioned to me she wanted to preserve you.
Yes.
Tell me about that.
When my father died, she was about 5 years old. And we were sitting shivering, and she was worried, why did Zadie die? Why did Zadie die? So we told her he was old, he got older and sick, and he couldn't make it anymore. So she wanted, I wish my sisters, she said, my sisters would help a little bit more. You shouldn't get too old. You shouldn't die. He wanted to preserve me. She was worried already.
What would you like to say to Sheila?
Sheila is away most of her life. She's not with me, but she comes occasionally, but she means well. She's a good kid. No complaint.
Now, the three children grew up in Borough Park in Brooklyn.
Yeah.
This was the house they would most remember.
Right.
Can you tell us some of the memories of the home in Borough Park? First of all, what is the exact address of the home?
1419 47th Street.
Tell us about the house. What did it look like?
We bought the house. It was a very neglected house. My husband worked there for weeks with people and alone till we put it in shape. I had 3 children. I moved into 4 rooms. And we had to keep Sheila in our bedroom because we couldn't afford to take the bigger apartment because we had a mortgage to pay off. But I was very happy. That was the best move what I ever made. We liked Borough Park, we liked the neighborhood. And in a short while, Anne was 14 when we bought the house, when we moved in. And she was 17, she was ready to get married. So we were lucky with that house. And she was married. Here's, I'm afraid to talk a lot.
Well, wait, before you go on, tell me...
When she was very young, she was married. I was the youngest grandma.
You were the youngest girl. Tell me what
for my friend.
holidays was celebrated in the home. And
Every holiday. Every holiday. Every holiday.
did you have tenants or did you live there alone?
No, we had tenants.
You had tenants.
Yeah. One or two. Two.
And you had some strange...
Mishkov and Levine.
And did you have some strange stories with tenants? or
No,
everything
we
went
got
smooth?
along beautiful, beautiful.
So the house was the center of activity
Yes.
for...
We had a porch, and it was a bigger apartment with a big kitchen. It was a big improvement in my life. I was very, very happy moving there.
And when Sukkot came, did you have a sukkah in the
Of
backyard? or
course, in the driveway.
In the driveway.
Sure.
Can you remember it?
Yeah, every year we had a sukkah. His Brice was in a sukkah. He was born just before Sukkot.
In the house in Borough Park.
Borough
you
Park.
had-
And his Brice and his Friday night, the, what do you call it, Ben Zahar, everything was in the sukkah. It was a huge sukkah.
So everybody in the family has very fond memories
Yes.
of the house.
Yes.
I understand the refrigerator
Yeah.
was the center of activity.
And my husband, she rest in peace, kept on yelling, close the refrigerator, close the refrigerator. They used to stay by the open refrigerator.
Okay. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the house for the children?
Yeah, we lived there for 25 years in that house. We lived there longer, but we had the house for 25 years. Then my husband took ill, and he wanted to stay in Florida 6 months, and 6 months in Brooklyn. And we sold the house, which it was a big mistake. And he was so upset that he took very sick, and his knife, he got a pinched knife from it. And that's all. And then we kept on living there as a tenant till my husband died, and I moved out in 90, in 1990. So it was 39 years in that house.
And while you were there, you had a job.
Yes.
Right? Tell us about your job.
I worked in a bakery, Strauss Bakery on 13th Avenue. I had a little experience already because I worked uptown. And this was in the neighborhood. It was very good for me. And everybody benefits from the bakery. My grandchildren grew up so beautiful from all the cakes.
What did you used to do at the bakery?
Selling.
And then you brought home all the...
all the goodies.
all the goodies.
All the leftovers. And I worked there for 30 years in the bakery.
years.
My boss, Mr. Strauss, And Mrs. Strauss, they remain my friends. And they still call me, and we're still in contact. They're very nice people. We had a very good relationship. And with all the girls in the store, it was like family. We got along very beautiful. It was an occasion. Someone married a child. We all were invited. We all were there. I was happy working very much.
Those were happy times for
Yes.
you when you were.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd like now to talk about your grandchildren.
Yeah.
I'd like you to talk about your grandchildren. Tell me about your oldest one. I
Yeah.
think you have a picture, perhaps, of all the grandchildren that you can hold up.
Yeah. My oldest granddaughter is Sharon. Was born in my house on 47th Street. Came from the hospital to my house, to our house on 47th Street. We adored her. She was awfully beautiful. And it was a baby in the house. It was wonderful. It was a very, very wonderful time. Till she was 2 years old when my daughter moved out. We had an extra little apartment. We gave it to them when they were married because they were very young. And I remember Sharon's tonsils. I'll never forget that. The doctor suggested to take her tonsils out, and I went alone when they took her in. And on the way, I was holding her, and she was after the eater, and she was throwing up on me. And we were so mad, whoever suggested to take out the tonsils. And my other daughter ran and bought her a big doll with a carriage or a crepe.
And what would you like to say, Sharon and her husband?
No, they're my best friends. You couldn't ask for better friends than these kids are.
That's wonderful. And they have 4 children?
They have 4 children.
Care to name them?
Yeah, Esther Malke and Miriam, Maddie, and Yetta. And they are delicious.
And after Sharon, who is the next grandchild?
Yeah, Shelley.
And what would you like to say about
Shelley was born before Passover. At the Seder, she was crying, so we dipped what do you call they soak the children? Pacifier? The pacifier in wine. We stuck her in the mouth and she kept quiet. She was born before Passover, about 2 weeks before Passover.
And Shelley?
It's 27th of March.
Shelley now lives in
Shelley
Israel?
now is married, and she just recently moved to Israel with her family. Her husband, name is Tui, very brilliant boy, very fond of him. And they have 5 children, all girls.
And their names?
Shani, Aviva, Yael, and Tali, and Orly.
And anything you'd like to say to them?
They are wonderful.
Hi.
They are just wonderful, very devoted, and very good family, and I'm very proud of them.
Okay, and the next grandchild?
Alan, Messiah was born. After I had girls, my daughter had 2 girls, and here a boy came. And every child then came to my house, to our house, to recuperate. Alan was born, it was before Sukkot, like I said. The breeze was in the Sukkah, and it was a very happy occasion.
And what would you like to say about Alan?
Alan, we are very proud of him. He's one of the best, and we couldn't ask for better. If he's going to get married and have children, they should only be like him. But I wouldn't be able to see it. That's impossible. It takes so long.
And Joanne?
Joanne was so cute when she was born and so good. When they moved away from Borough Park, she was 4 years old, and I'll never forget that. I slept over one night when they just moved in, and I had where to sleep, but she only wanted to sleep near me. So my daughter put up a folding bed for her, and she asked me to hold her hand. And she wants to feel me. That's how close. She felt like she moved away from her home. Mm. She didn't move to a house, to home, but she moved away from her home.
Mm. That's wonderful. Would you like to say anything to Joanne?
Yeah, I'm very proud of her. She went to a very good school. She's very good educated. And I hope she should be lucky. And I should see a lot of nachas from her while I'm here.
Yeah. And your other grandchildren, you have Mindy's children?
Mindy, yes. Mindy has 2 boys, Richard and David. They're not as close to us. They don't call me mommy, they call me grandma, because they never lived with us in the same neighborhood or something, but they're very fine boys, thank God. There is nobody in our family, God forbid, in drug involved or other things, and I hope to see them married.
Mm-hmm. And your youngest grandchild?
My youngest grandchild is Kendra. She's a very sweet little girl. She wants to be an actress. I hope she accomplishes what she wishes. Her wish should come true.
What influence have your children had upon your life? Your children and your grandchildren, I should
What do you mean,
say.
what influence?
How have they impacted upon your life? If you didn't have children or grandchildren, how would life be different?
Without them?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know. I have them. I know they always for us. For me and for my husband, they were always for us.
They were always.
Yes.
What values do you think you taught your children?
I didn't teach them nothing. I just told them to be nice and polite and good, and don't stay out late.
And
do your homework.
You were always there to help them, right?
As much as I was able to. Mm-hmm. Don't forget, I wasn't educated in this country. Mm-hmm. I never went to school.
Mm-hmm. There is one thing I'd like to, that we did leave out that I would like to mention. Your husband died, Irving died, in what year?
89.
And where is he buried?
In Israel.
In Israel.
That was his wish.
Mm-hmm.
He was always very proud of his children, especially from his grandchildren. So proud.
Anything else that you can say about Irving?
Grandchildren, happy as could be. Very happy. We loved every one of them, and we took care of them. They came from the hospital straight to our house till the mother recuperated.
Was he afraid to give them a kiss?
No, he kissed them. He wasn't.
Time. So what would happen with the evil eye, you were telling me?
Because they were pretty and they were so beautiful that they shouldn't that someone shouldn't give them an evil eye. That's all.
Mm-hmm. And what did was he always telling a lot of stories?
Yes, he told the children stories. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And what else did
they were on top of him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Would he sit around with the family and have drinks together? Or?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
He was sociable.
Mm-hmm. Anything else that you can say about Irving and his relationship?
He was a very hard worker, which he didn't like what he did. And he didn't like the way he had to do it, but we weren't lucky enough.
But he was a real family man.
Oh, yeah.
He loved his family.
Oh, yeah.
And he was very active in the shul?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And they were all by his bedside when he took ill. I couldn't cope alone. My oldest granddaughter, she was able to stay with me. The others had to go to work. She stayed till the last minute.
How lucky you are.
Yeah, Sharon and Albie, with two small children. But they were always for it.
Yeah. Okay. What would you say were the best times of your life?
For the best. So my children got married.
That was a happy time for you.
Yes, because they were all married young.
And the worst times?
The worst time, when I lost my husband.
But you had your family surrounding you.
Yes.
What advice would you like to give to your whole family?
To the kids, don't look for any other pleasures in life. Just take care of your family. That is your life, and you have to do it. This is your job, this is your duty, this is your responsibility. Just don't think about anything else. This is your life, your family. Do the best you can. And give and take.
Adele, do you have any fears right now?
Fear? Yes.
What is your fear?
About getting sick. And end up.
You're afraid to be alone when you get sick? Or?
It's not advisable to be alone. There's no choice. I have to be alone. I want to still have a home, and I still want to be independent. But the fear is when I see a lot of them, my friends and other people, especially in the nursing home, you don't have to see it. You know this is it. It comes in old age, and some people are very unlucky, and some people... My husband was lucky. I was for him, and he didn't go to a nursing home. He was home, and we tried the best care. He was surrounded all by his loved ones.
What are you doing right now for enjoyment? What
Enjoyment?
Do you do to keep your time?
Keep my time. I go twice a week to a nursing home.
Which nursing home do you go to?
The Metropolitan Geriatric.
And what do you do there?
I do some errands, deliver mail. I help with bingo. But the main part, what I do there is feeding the old people. As many as I could. And I spend there every Tuesday from 9 till 1:30, and every Thursday.
And what other hobbies do you enjoy in the home when you're here?
Keeping home, cooking for the fridge there, for the freezer, and going to my grandchildren once in a while. Breaks up the monotony.
Do you read?
I read, watch television, play cards.
What's your favorite time of the year? Fall, winter, spring, summer?
Right. Usually it's after Pesach, springtime.
Springtime.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite recipe that you make for everybody?
What is my favorite? Yeah. I taught a little bit. I didn't teach my children certain things, but I taught my grandchildren, especially Sharon.
Anything favorite that you like? What that you like?
Yeah, she likes gefilte fish, homemade, start from scratch.
You make that.
And she makes it too.
She learned that from you.
Yeah. She makes matzo balls.
These are your recipes?
Yes. She does it good. She makes cholent. What else, Shirley? Simmers.
And these are all your recipes?
Yes.
I hope you have them written down someplace.
No, in my mind.
We got to get those recipes.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite book that you read?
Recently?
Yeah.
Right now I'm reading Whisper, and it's very, very good.
Did you take a trip that you really thought was your favorite trip that you've ever taken?
I was in Israel with my husband together in 1966. 66 it
And
was.
this was your favorite?
And then we were again. And now I think it's my fourth time.
Do you have any dreams, though, for the family?
Yeah. Just I want to see them happy. And if they are happy, I'm happy.
If you could do it all over again, would you do anything different?
No. No, I think I did the right thing. Is when I didn't have a nice home, exclusive, always just manageable. But I always used to say, if I came in somewhere, I used to say, I don't have, I wouldn't have, my children should have. So, and my husband always remembered that. Whenever I came into my granddaughter's house, or my other Minda's house, my son, nice, he said, no, you always wish them. So here, this is real. You wish them good and they have it. And they should always have better than I had.
And your philosophy on life?
Is what?
What is it?
No philosophy. It's finished. When you get older, it's finished. You try to pass time, but you can't think. I still, 4 years ago, I made a move. I moved here, which I'm very happy about it. I made the move alone, and that's it. Okay. And the rest is up to God.
What got you through the hard times in your life? What advice could you give to your offspring that helped you through your life?
Hard times. Like I said, give yourself to your family. Nothing else matters. But take care of your family and your husband and your children or your wife. And what else can I tell them?
Is that what got you through?
Yes, yes. You have to give in a lot, even if the next person is wrong. If you want to, you don't want to break a family, but otherwise it's very easy to break it up. Can't put it back.
So the word we're looking for here is compromise?
Compromise.
Is that what you did through your life?
Yes. Compromise. There is no angels in this world when two people get married. Everybody has their own mind and they think they are right. I'm right, he's right. I'm wrong, he's wrong. You have to compromise and make it as a whole. Sometimes you can't, and sometimes, but you try. Years ago you did it. It wasn't like now. 1, 2, 3 is a marriage. Moving out and things like that. It was different. It was a commitment. And the commitment was strong.
Adele, Yiddish is
Yeah.
a very important part of the tradition in your family. Do you have a song, a phrase that you could sing or say?
I wouldn't sing.
Okay, just say it then.
Yeah. I once sang on the stage, I remember. It said like that, mein Mame und mein Tate, sie seien gewesen Blatte. Und gern wenn nicht sicher mir verglust. That means I had tough parents and I was stealing. Und gern wenn nicht mir so viel verglust. Und ist gekommen a Jente und hat mich hereingesetzt in a Kutschemente, that means in jail. And my bones are still hurting me. That was a song. It's not exactly, but this I remember.
Okay.
Noch ein Song gewesen. Sagt, eine Chommele, du bist doch meine Schommele. Was noch gewesen? Every child who was born from the grandchildren and the great-grandchildren, when my husband looked on them, he always say, 1 in a million is born a perfect child like this. Everyone was 1 in a million, everyone.
Oh.
That's how he was proud of them.
Adele, life was so different
Yeah,
when you were growing up as a child
Right.
than it is today. What do you think is so different? How is it different?
it's different in every way. The way of living, the apartments, the children. We didn't have music to play. We didn't have even a radio, no television. My children never had a doll. They never had a toy. The only toy was that they used to play with the pots in the kitchen. And we were happy once in a while we got something. That was an occasion. Now the children have everything. There's no occasions. Today they got a toy. Next week they'll have another toy. There is no end. And that day when we got something, it was really a happiness. We got a new dress. We got a new pair of shoes. We got something new, a new coat, not a handed over. That was the happy occasion. That was the only happy occasion. At home. That's it.